the busiest hooker in Boca. I won't be very impressed either way. So he laughed. He said, wow, it's like talking to a man when I talk to you. But really, that's what it comes down to, breaking down those barriers, no matter what it takes. Humor, kindness, whatever it is.
Do they come, what is the point where they're like, I need to see a doctor about this? Is it sometimes the partner sends them, or is it sometimes they saw an ad and we're like, oh, that's me, and they do that? What is the stimuli that gets them to be like, all right, I want to make an appointment here?
Just about anything. Sometimes they hear something about it on social media, and they might know me personally, or they might even meet me at an event for the very first time, and they'll pull me aside and say, does this shit work?
At like a cocktail party?
At a cocktail party, yes.
Again, no pun intended.
No pun intended. You are terrible. And I'm the sex fairy.
Right.
And you're coming up with all these.
Right. And they come and they'll be like, hey, doctor.
Yes. In fact, I was at a very fancy party recently in a dress and everything. Got out of my scrubs for this one. And I'm standing there in a pair of heels, completely out of doctor mode. And at the bar, trying to get a glass of wine. And the guy throwing the party starts discussing it with me, with probably 20 people in line around me.
Right.
And I said, do you want to take this maybe 10 feet away? And he said, oh, okay. And then we go there, and he immediately starts, and he says, I hear you do all the sex stuff. Does this shit work? And I said, well, yes. It was a little offended. What do you mean, does this shit work?
Yeah, you're not
yes,
just
of course
stealing.
it works.
Right.
And so then, of course, we go into a whole 15-minute discussion about that, so it's everywhere. And then some of them, their relationships are just about falling apart.
The number one issue they come to you for is what?
I'd say it's 50-50. Can't get a good erection, and I want a bigger penis.
And I want a bigger penis. Does every man want a bigger penis?
Every man wants a bigger penis. But until I came along,
right. It wasn't
sprinkling
possible.
my magic fairy dust,
Right.
It wasn't happening quite this way.
Right. So somebody like me, a layperson like me, is like, oh my God, somebody wants a penis enlargement. That seems like we're taking a transplant from another creature and we're putting it on. It doesn't work that way, right?
No. Well, you can have penile implants, but I do it the more holistic way, if there is such a thing.
Right.
And I do it
coax it?
No, I don't coax it. Some of my patients
water it like a plant?
might wish I coax it, but no.
A little fertilizer and water?
Yeah, pretty much.
No. And is every penis capable of being bigger? Correct. That's fascinating. What is it about it that doesn't? What is it lacking that it is not as big as it can be? Is that the phrase?
I don't think that it's always about how big it is.
Right.
I think it's about how big the man wants it to be.
And that's is a healthy penis larger?
A healthy penis is about 5.5 or so inches.
But is it larger because it's healthy?
No, I don't think so. No.
Cucumber?
No, it's not like a cucumber.
So what is it missing that you can make it bigger? Besides, it's not abracadabra. So you're doing something to change it without putting an implant in. You're doing something to change its state.
Yes.
Without giving away the secret sauce, or maybe you are giving away the secret sauce here.
Well, I'm big on rejuvenation. I'm big on making the penis actually bigger.
Right.
I like to make people healthier, be it their hair, skin, or their penis.
Right.
And so I am doing things like platelet-rich plasma, things like that. I'm actually injecting those in to make the penis naturally big over time.
And it's bigger because it's healthier? It's got more healthy cells in it? It's fatty cells? What are you doing?
I'm not making fat. I'm just making it, there's a space in there. The top layer and, the inner layer, there's a potential space.
There's room for growth.
There's
so
lots
to
of
speak.
room for growth, yes.
So it's not collagen.
So I am building collagen over
you are.
time
So
with
you're
the
plumping
PRP.
the lips.
I am plumping the lips.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's sort of the same procedure. That's how it works.
Yes. And then we also use filler and the other things one does.
Is that painful?
No, because I know how to do a block above the penis that makes it not hurt at all.
And how long is somebody out of commission?
I request them nicely to please try to give me a week, if not 2. But today it was hilarious. I had a patient who said, are you talking a full 7 days or 5 business days?
So somebody shouldn't come in on a Thursday and say, I got a date Saturday night.
That would not be good. Might be a waste of money.
Swelling is good? you don't want to wait for the swelling to go down.
No. But there isn't much swelling at all.
Oh, there isn't swelling.
Not when I do it. I don't butcher my patients. That's
Well, it
why
doesn't
I'm
be
the
butcher
sex
to be
fairy.
spelling. I mean, you're going for...
No, actually, there really isn't.
There's no swelling.
Not really. Not when I do it.
Is the result instant? Like they walk out and they can see a difference?
They walk out strutting.
So you got a lot of dick pics in your collection.
I do. In fact, that's why I can't have when my kids say, Mama, can I borrow your phone? I say, no.
No. All right, we're going to focus on the ladies, but we got to take a quick break. So we'll be back with Dr. Sex Fairy right after this. And we are back, and we're talking about all sorts of things. And if you missed the first 25 minutes of this, go back and listen to see what you missed. You parachuted into the middle of a fascinating conversation. Couples. A healthy couple probably has a discussion which will lead them into your office, right? If a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a partnership, a husband and a wife come to you, to some degree, that's a good thing because it means they had some dialogue that got them into your office.
I think that's a great thing. That's my best case scenario, that they come together.
Right. And you try and, without blaming anybody or pointing fingers, you trying to get to the root of the issue?
Yes, because here's the thing. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of performance anxiety when it comes to a man. And sometimes he may think that he's not big enough when truly the problem is that after giving birth to 4 children vaginally, his partner is now too big. Mm-hmm. So again, at the risk of upsetting women, sometimes it's not the poor man.
And you never hear that.
You never hear that.
Right.
I'm quite the pariah sometimes when I mention that because it's easy to blame the man. Mm-hmm. And women, my fellow women, have become very used to this. And it's easy to do that. But we should also look in the mirror and see what our issues are. When an alarming number of women can't even label their own vagina,
right?
How can you blame the man?
Right. He doesn't understand the diagram if you don't understand the diagram.
He's confused, but so are you.
How much of sexual dysfunction from either of them has a lot to do with drugs or alcohol, drinking too much, that has made them desensitized?
Well, lifestyle choices must be sensible, of course. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that any of my patients have the problems they do because they drink too much. At least they don't tell me that they do. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of these men have gotten older and their dysfunction has just gotten worse over time.
Which is natural.
Yeah, it's natural.
Right.
And then because they don't get help, even when they ask for it, it just gets worse.
And a lot of men or women are like, okay, I'm 52 years old, and this is just the way it's going to be now. Mm-hmm. When they have maybe decades of healthy existence ahead of them, if they get some help, if they ask some questions.
Look at our average lifespan now. We're living well into our 80s.
Right.
So if, sex sucks at 50, hell, it's going to be a miserable life.
Right. And if it doesn't, maybe at 85, you're having a real good time.
If you look at some of my patients, I have a gentleman who's 69, his girlfriend's older, and they're having the best sex of their lives. But they both came to me.
They came together, which is a healthy step in the process. And then we took care
of both their issues, and now they're having the best sex.
Okay. I see how you explained a little bit how you make things larger. Mm-hmm. How do you make her smaller?
Vaginal lasers can do that.
Which increases blood flow and
it remodels tissue. It remodels tissue. So with the CO2 laser, as scary as this sounds, we basically burn off a layer of tissue, but it's not painful. I know it sounds crazy, but it's not.
Why is it not painful?
It's just the way your nerves are inside. We don't
figure if you gave birth, this is nothing.
Yeah, it's like, shit, I can handle this.
And you're like, listen, we're going to take you up 20%, sir. We're going to take her down 30%. We're going to meet in the middle. Is that a conversation you have with couples?
That is best case scenario, yes.
Really, where both of you are going to take a half step back towards each other.
Yes.
No blaming. We each have some.
No blaming. We'll just fix either person, and then you're done.
Can you make a woman who does not enjoy sex? Do some come to you and say, I just don't enjoy it, and then it's a physical thing that you can change or work on, or is not enjoying it tend to be psychological in some way dealing it?
I get all of the above. I get some women who used to have great sex. Mm-hmm. I had a lady who came to me and said, listen, you need to understand that I have the libido of a high school boy. Mm-hmm. And now I don't seem to enjoy sex. When my husband goes down on me, I don't feel much. So this is alarming to me. This is horrible. And I've been to 3 other doctors and nothing works.
Right.
And the problem is there are a lot of hacks out there.
Right.
And when they come to me, sometimes they're jaded and I'm their, last stop before they give up.
Right.
So it depends on what the issue is, but I see all combinations of this.
And is it about increasing sensation?
Yes. But also it's lubrication. Sometimes they tear because of hormonal problems. Things are getting dry. It's a lot of different things.
What issues do younger people have? We get a lot of audience here in their 20s. Is it too many guys experimenting with Cialis at a frat party and then it screws up their system? Or
Well, that is an issue, but 20% of men in their 20s do suffer from erectile dysfunction naturally.
Naturally.
That's
like
just how
nothing.
it is.
It's just a physiological change but it doesn't have to be a surgical procedure.
No.
You're not cutting anything.
No.
Nobody wants to be cut down there.
I don't cut anybody down there. That's why I'm sprinkling Magic Fairy dust.
I know the Magic Fairy. She won't cut you. She'll just help you. She'll fix you. How many come to you with a problem and then try and convince you they have no problem? Is that
Many of them. I recently, it's hilarious.
Then what are you doing here? Yeah.
It's so funny you just said that because I was looking at a video I shot because I have a YouTube channel and I was editing a video for that. And this patient must have said about 3 or 4 times in the first 5 minutes that while he doesn't have a problem, he just believes in wellness, so he came. I beg to differ. He did have a problem, and now he's so much better. And even in his video, he said, now I get erections spontaneously, and now blah, blah, blah. He gave a list of all the things
Like
that
in a
have
grocery
improved.
store?
That's funny. But he said, all of this has changed. Yet he kept saying to himself, but there's nothing wrong with me. And, it's like going to AA for a meeting. If you don't admit to having a problem, how can somebody possibly help you?
Does everybody have a problem to some degree?
To some degree.
So everybody is a candidate to improve sexual health and wellness.
I think it's not just about sex. I think it's about intimate wellness in general. For instance, if a woman is not able to exercise because she's worried about wetting herself in the gym, and that's a real problem.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the adult diaper market, it's huge. And panty liners and this and that, it's a problem. So it's about quality of life, I think, more than even just sex.
How do you define sexual wellness or sexual health?
I think sexual wellness is having the kind of sex, whatever that may be, because nowadays things aren't necessarily the way we saw them when we grew up.
Right.
I mean, now with LGBTQ issues, all of that, and, they're front and center. And so the definition of sex is different than it used to be.
Right.
But whatever...
As is the definition of intimacy. That's also different.
Completely different. So whatever their definition of sex is, if they are happy finding pleasure in whatever it is they're doing, whether it's vaginal, whether it's anal, I don't care what it is. If you are finding joy, pleasure, and satisfaction and peace in whatever it is you're doing, to me, that is the definition of wellness.
You have almost 3 prongs you have to deal with a patient. You have to convince them you're not judging them. You have to convince them that this is not unusual what they're doing. And you have to convince them that you can somehow help them.
Yes.
That's a real whack-a-mole that you have to deal with.
It's a whack-a-mole like you would not believe, my friend.
Right. And the hardest of those is to convince them that this is not unusual or that it's... Which is the biggest challenge for you? If somebody comes in, they're like, yeah, my girlfriend says I'm not satisfying to her, or I'm not feeling it the way I am, and maybe you can do something for me. Is it like that big?
I think my biggest challenge is getting them in a positive frame of mind, giving them hope. I don't like to sell dreams. I sell true change.
Right.
I truly help my patients get better. So I have to convince them to at least give this a shot mentally. Because if they decide this is not going to work, then hell, how are you going to get erect when you don't want to get erect? So I have to first let them get out of their own heads, if that makes sense.
Now, if you go to a plastic surgeon and you want to get breast implants, he's going to show you the book of patients in the past. Do you break out the penis book? Is it a slideshow?
I have quite the website.
But do you show them? You're like, I can
Yes, I
can
show
turn you
them.
from this to this?
And then their eyes get really big. And they say, you can do that? And I say, yes. And they said, I can walk out of here today looking like that. And I said, somewhere in between all those pictures, some version of that, yes, you will walk out looking like that today.
How many do you have to talk off? Be like, that is too big already. We are not your poor wife, your poor girlfriend. that's not your problem.
I have one currently. It's about, when I say somebody's big,
Right.
trust me, they're big because I've seen a lot. Between my emergency medicine career and what I do now, I have seen a lot of penises. My goodness.